Well, you know what they say about redheads. Stick around and we're going to find out about this one. Hey, Kolin, good to have you today, man.
Yeah, good to be here. Happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. So I'm Luke Martin. I'm one of the attorneys at Benbow, Davidson & Martin, and today we've got Kolin Funk here. We're on the next episode of Suits and Boots Legal Talk. So, Kolin, we want to learn about you today, man. So thanks for being here and looking forward to talking to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to get into it.
So tell us, where you come from?
Originally, I'm from Florida, or the Orlando, Florida area, and I'm glad to be here now. Orlando's hectic, as you could probably gather, so I'm happy to be here in North Carolina now.
Yeah, some people would think Orlando, Florida, isn't that like the land of dreams and magic and all that stuff? Why in the world would you ever want to leave there?
Well, I guess ironically enough, that's exactly the reason why you want to leave there, because these people, I mean, it's great tourism, but when you're local, it wears on you a little bit. So
my dad, when I was hiring Scott, actually, and y'all know that he was actually from Florida as well. My dad says, son, you're going to hire a guy from Florida and he's going to move up here? I said, yeah. He said, so he's moving from Florida to North Carolina and you think he's smart? But, everybody that doesn't live in Florida thinks it's the best place in the world. And I'm sure it can get old after a while.
Yeah, no, it's got a lot of great parts. It's February right now, so it's a little cold, or it's starting to warm up a little bit. But
now, cold in Florida.
Yeah, cold. Call me crazy, and if there's anybody else who can vouch for this, please comment, let us know. 60 degrees in Florida is cold. 60 degrees here is a nice day. It's bizarre. I don't know what it is. If there's a meteorologist who can explain this to us, I would really appreciate it.
It's probably because 60 degrees in Florida is cold for Florida. Like when you're used to 70 and plus all the time, 60 degrees.
It may just be because you've been Stockholm syndromed into thinking that it's a great place, but I'm telling you, you walk out of your house when it's 60 degrees in Florida in the morning, and it feels like, no kidding, if you did not have a thermometer, you'd be like, it's like 30 degrees out here right now. You check your phone, you say 62 degrees. What the heck? This is crazy. And here it feels great. So
one of my buddies is a lawyer in South Dakota. He and I graduated from Liberty together, actually. And he says when it's been negative 20 outside for long enough, 20 feels pretty good.
Yeah,
it's t-shirt weather.
Yeah,
now,
you take any excuse you can get out to get outside. So
yeah. So you grew up in Florida, right? Is that where you lived basically your whole life?
Yeah. So we moved a couple times just locally. It's the Orlando area. We kind of Kissimmee is kind of where Disney proper is for like the locals. We live kind of there. My dad worked for Disney for years and years and years. That's another thing people always ask. Did you go to Disney all the time? And again, I may be the worst Floridian ever, but I'm like, no, not really.
And your dad worked there even
for Disney.
Oh, my goodness.
It's not like we never went, but
we're losing viewers left and right now.
If you're a Disney fan out there, I'm sorry. I apologize, but it's just one of those things where, if you're local, you either love it or you hate it, and I fell into the not so love it category.
Well, so I just last year, my family and I went to Fort Dobbs for the first time. And Fort Dobbs, you're not from around here, so you maybe don't know. Fort Dobbs is a historic site just north of town here. It's the first time I've ever been in my whole life, and I've lived here my whole life, and the first time going was just last year. So it's I guess you take for granted things around where you live, and you travel.
Gotta be that, yeah.
Like we go down to Pensacola a lot, and in Pensacola, there's all the forts there around Pensacola. We go to those all the time, and it's like there's one right here in our back door we never even go to.
Yeah, and that's how it goes. Same thing is like people like around here, especially like love Pensacola and Myrtle Beach and stuff like that, and they're like, "Oh, you've been before?" I'm like, "No, I hadn't." Pensacola from Orlando it's a hike. That's for sure.
It's probably about as far as it is from here to Orlando.
It may be. Like it's a long way up there. So I hadn't ever been through there, not really even passed through. I mean, on the Panhandle there, unless you're going to a very specific place, you don't really pass through that part of the country. So
folks I talk to say Pensacola is just it's just an extension of Alabama there. It's not, they don't really count it as Florida.
I mean, I don't know how states got their shape, but yeah, the Florida's Panhandle is way longer than you think it is, and it definitely should be Alabama.
Yeah,
It's how it is, I guess.
So you obviously you're an attorney at the law firm, so you ended up going to law school. How did you go from a kid in Orlando, Florida, to law school? I
specifically remember when I was a kid. I guess I like to argue with my parents. I don't know. And they told me, you're going to make a great lawyer one day. And, you know, I knew I wanted to go to college. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Oddly enough, really what my choices were go to school and study pre-law or go to school to be a golf course designer. I thought that was going to be the coolest
golf
career.
Course design.
Yeah, I always wanted to do that. And then when, you know, the rubber met the road senior year of high school, I started kind of looking into it. And I don't know what the stat is exactly, but I knew it then. And it was like a golf course a day closes down in the United States. I was like, maybe this isn't the best career path. And, you know, there is new golf courses opening up, but those are the kind of golf courses that are designed by Arnold Palmer and these guys who know what they're doing. And some kid's not going to be able to make headway in that. So lawyer it was.
Here you are.
Yep.
Here you are. So where did you go do your undergrad? So
I went to Southeastern University. That's in Lakeland, Florida. It's kind of halfway between Orlando and Tampa, right there on I-4. It's a Christian college there, not huge, pretty small. So it was nice to, you know, you'd walk down the main street and campus and you'd see a bunch of people you knew, and met my wife there, have my best friends that I went to school with there. So it was a great experience.
And our connection actually is the Liberty connection. So you went to law school at Liberty University.
That's right.
And that's where I went. That's where Scott went that works with us. So.
Yeah, we're cornering the market over here.
Yeah,
Us Liberty grads.
I know, right.
So yeah, and I went to Liberty in Lynchburg, Virginia, and that was really a big change. You know, living in Florida my whole life and then going up to law school in Virginia, that was definitely a culture shock. I had seen snow a couple times, but that was cool to get to, you know, go up there and really see a different part of the country that I was not familiar with at all.
So what was the draw to Liberty? Now, I went there because it's not far from the house, and actually what drew me to Liberty initially was their aviation program. So I was already up there, did my undergrad up there, but now you came from Florida up there, so.
Yeah, no, I applied to a couple different places, and, you know, I got a scholarship at Liberty that I liked, and then it was a Christian school that was important to me. And then I had some buddies who had gone up there for undergrad as well. So I was like, well, you know, I could stay down in Florida, you know, just do what I know, or, you know, take a leap and see what it's like. So I decided to take the leap, and it turned out great. I loved going there.
Well, I'm glad you did, because that's how we ended up connecting.
That's
and so
right.
You've been with us now, what, almost a year and a half?
It
something
was
like that?
September of 2022 that I started. So yeah, little over a year. I guess getting close to a year and a half now.
That's great. That's great. Well, I hope you've enjoyed it. Tell me what you do for the law firm. Obviously, I know, but tell them what you do.
Yeah, no, I have enjoyed it. You know, I kind of started out doing a little Heinz 57, you know, feline law, as we've discussed earlier on these episodes.
Whatever the cat drags
That's
in.
right. But now I'm doing primarily estate planning and estate administration. So it's really just people come in when, you know, they don't really know what's going on with their estate, who's going to get my stuff when I pass, and we kind of work through that. And, you know, depending on what they own or who they're wanting their stuff to go to, we kind of figure out a good estate plan for them and get their stuff to go where they want to go when they pass.
See, I've got the best job in the world, and definitely got the best job at the law firm, because I work in real estate transactions, contract transactions. So I'm more of I call myself a transactional attorney. So what I do is put together deals. These people have agreed to buy something. These people have agreed to sell something, and I make it happen. David and Daryl and you and the other guys in the law firm are always dealing with people that have real problems, and especially everybody that comes to me is happy because they're either selling something or they're buying something. Yeah. But man, folks that come to you, we talk about when people come through the door of our firm, they're hurting and they're going through one of the hardest things they've maybe ever gone through in their life, especially family law or child custody or something like that. In your case, a lot of times it's a death in the family, and so what you do has to take a toll and has to be a difficult thing, but you're helping people through difficult situations, aren't you?
Yeah, no, it is. Sometimes you can get into such a rhythm and you know, get going on such a course where you kind of forget that these are people's lives and these are people's loved ones who have been lost, and you know, it really helps to step back and kind of empathize with them and, you know, really get on the same level as them before you keep going, or else you can quickly fall into that kind of pattern. And you know, it does happen, but it's so important to, you know, get on the same level as these people to try and really help them. So absolutely, they come in and it's real problems, and that's why we're here. We really, we want to help them get through this, and we want to help them, get something done for them.
So tell me, you said estate planning and estate administration. Let's talk about those two things. So estate planning would come first. Tell us what that is just a little bit.
Yeah, so estate planning is really putting together a plan, getting some documents drafted up to kind of determine where your stuff's going to go, whether that be a will, so when I pass away, I want my stuff to go to my children or my spouse, or a trust. It's kind of its own legal entity. You're drafting a document and transferring your stuff to this, legal person kind of thing. And the trust owns your assets so that, when you personally pass away, you don't own anything. The trust, if you transfer everything into it, the trust is what owns the property. So, it doesn't have to go through probate, which kind of leads into estate administration.
Yeah.
And, estate administration is really the process of getting stuff, that the person who's passed away owned in their own name, transferred over to whoever's, in line to get it, whether that be through their will or, through the North Carolina intestate laws, which is basically who gets your stuff if you don't have a will. So it's a kind of the state monitored process of doing that, and in between there's, paying creditors if there's creditors against your estate. So there's a lot that goes into it. And it's not a super intuitive process. It is doable, but that's why we're here. We're here to help people navigate through it.
Yeah,
so.
And we have so many estates and real property. I'm involved in a lot of real property. Those two things touch so many different areas of law. Because if you've got a person who dies and they're separated, or maybe they're divorced, or you've got blended families, so many things come into play with how that works in their estate and who gets what, and it can be a real mess if someone hasn't planned for that through estate planning on the front side.
Yeah, absolutely, and I will absolutely highlight what you said, in that you would not believe how many times a week I'm in Luke's office saying, like, here's what I got going on here as far as like the real property. What are we looking at here? And really the fields of estate planning and real estate are so interconnected, the wealth
especially
management.
in our area, because so many of our clients are North Iredell, Alexander County, rural folks who own land, and that's a lot of times their largest asset. Mm-hmm. And so when they pass, how do we deal with that? It becomes a big question.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's something that keeps the lights on for us. There's a ton of work to be done for it, and we appreciate people coming to see us on it, definitely, and we're just glad that we can help.
And one cool thing about what you do is you do the estate administration, and you also do the estate planning, which really gives you a perspective on, okay, if we do this in the planning phase, so if you want this written in your will, here's the effect that's going to have on the estate administration side. So you can see it from both sides, and it really helps the planning side, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. There's, when someone, years and years ago had their estate plan done up, and, they've passed away, and their spouse or their children come in to see me, they hand me their documents and stuff, and I kind of scratch my head sometimes. I'm like, what in the world? It's like it worked at the time. But yeah, it definitely helps to, do your estate planning through the lens of estate administration. I mean, that's, in my view, that's really the only way to do it.
If you're planning, what are you planning for? You're planning for the administration,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more so than just who's going to get your stuff. It's really the logistics of how it passes a lot of times, and that can either be a really smooth process or a very choppy process that can turn a very simple problem into a really, really complex one.
Well, we've got a case where I was looking at a real estate title, and I'm looking at the heirs. The owner brought me a list of all the people he thought owned it, and there were 40 people on this list or something like that. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this is going to be awful. And Colin just happens to walk in my office, and I said, "Hey, Colin, you want this one?" And he said, "Well, sure, I'll do it." And now you're still working on that thing.
Still working on the biggest mistake of my life.
So we can see these. We've seen these things from simple, just everything goes to husband, everything goes to wife, to there's 40 some heirs that we have to track down and figure out who gets what and what percentage. And so it ranges, and you've dealt with all of it. So at this point, if whatever's going on, just give Kolin a call, because if you've got a
Absolutely.
complicated estate matter, he's probably seen something like it.
Yeah,
So,
and that's what and even if, right now you think, oh, it's not a big deal. These problems can, when people pass away, these problems quickly
the longer you wait,
compound.
the worse it
and
gets.
that's the one there. It's, a couple generations have passed, and, kids of kids of kids. So you'd be surprised how quickly it kind of spiders out into all these different, all these different lines. And before you know it, you can have a lot of people who are involved when you don't necessarily think there will be that many.
Yeah. Yeah. So you do all that for the law firm. What do you do when you're not at the law firm? So what does Kolin like to do whenever you're not handling other people's problems?
Yeah, no, I'm a pretty simple guy. I'm a little bit of homebody. So I don't get out too much. The thing I will get out and do is kind of goes to my golf course design days. I love playing golf. I hadn't been playing too much golf up here recently, just kind of been getting settled in. But I do love playing golf. I'm married. My wife, Kaylee, and I, we love to travel. Her whole family has always been people who travel a lot. So they'll take us on trips with them. We'll go on trips. We've been some pretty cool places. So we'd like to travel, and we have a
You
little.
should go to Disney sometime.
We should.
I hear it's great.
You know what? We're doing that. Yeah, that sounds like a home run. So, but yeah, that's me. Travel, golf, homebody. Regrettably, probably my biggest quirk is that I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. So,
yeah, it's tough.
you can show your sympathy for me in the comments
Did I
here.
see something the other day that Jimmy Johnson is going back to work for the Cowboys? Is there any truth to that, or is that an internet rumor?
So what I saw was that he has joined kind of an advisory role on the staff, I guess. I don't know if it's paid or not, but you could tell through hearing him talk, he loves the Cowboys. And I mean, if I feel like it pains me to watch them lose, Jimmy Johnson watching the Cowboys lose, this man he probably really goes through it. So I'm glad he's going to be around. I think he'll hopefully steer us in a better direction than we've been going.
Well, you're not in terrible company, because back when I was growing up, I grew up here. When I was growing up here, there was no Panthers. That didn't come along until, I think, 1998. And so back here, you were either a Cowboys fan or a Washington fan. So back then they were the Redskins.
Yeah.
And so now that was the big rivalry. You were one of the two here, because that was who we could watch on TV.
Yeah.
So there are a ton of Dallas Cowboys fans in this area. So don't feel like you're
I have
out in
seen
the cold
that.
here.
Compared to Florida, for sure, it was a rarity to see any Cowboys fans, but I have noticed here there's been quite a few more. And I'll tell you that growing up in Florida, you probably think, why are you a Cowboys fan?
That was my next question.
Yeah, no, my dad is from, he was born in Irving, Texas, right outside of Dallas, and then moved to Oklahoma and grew up there. So, he was pretty close, and I tell him all the time, I'm jealous of you, but why did you do this to me? You got to watch the Cowboys win all these Super Bowls, and I've been here for the past 26 years watching them just
not win Super Bowls.
Yes, I mean show great promise and then just fold when the time comes. So it's been a trip. It's been a trip. I was actually Judge Dale Graham. He's a big Chiefs fan, so the Chiefs just won the Super Bowl. I went and talked with him the other day, and I was he said, "Yeah, I'm still celebrating. It's been great." I said, "Well, I'm hoping the Cowboys can get there." And he goes,
"You have a prediction for this season?"
For this coming season, I don't know. It might be the Chiefs again. I don't know. I mean,
you don't think it's going to be the Cowboys?
No. Until something changes the playoff. I tell myself this every time. It's kind of a cycle of, we're in the cycle and the point that I'm hurt and I don't want to have faith, and then they start winning some games, and you get to this point in the cycle,
now.
And then you start going around. They're like, wow, they're really making a push here and really getting excited. Playoff failure, and then the circle just repeats. So we're at the beginning part of the cycle here, and I'm telling myself this year, no, I'm not getting my hopes
So do you
up.
have a college team?
Oklahoma State, because my dad is kind of from.
It's not helpful.
Oklahoma State, it's the Cowboys too. Ironically enough, that so they're Stillwater, Oklahoma. So if I had to cheer for a college team, I would probably pull for them. And I have been thinking that, moving to North Carolina, I got to pick a North Carolina team to follow. So, So I'm open to any suggestions here, and I'm open to being swayed as far as who I should pull for with NC State or North Carolina.
I think we could make a suggestion there, because isn't your wife from Michigan?
Her family is all from Michigan.
Okay,
so.
I think Appalachian State's probably a pretty good pick for your household.
Hey,
right?
You know what? App State, they can deal with it because Go Blue, national champs. So that's all I'll say about that one. But no, App State does have that one game over on us. So one game. So
I guess they're 1 for 1.
that's right. They'll always have that. So
Yeah. Well, man, it has been awesome to talk to you, and thank you so much for being part of our firm. You are a ray of sunshine, and everybody that ever meets you says the same thing. And we talk about Kolin getting mad or something like that, and everybody's like, "Kolin getting mad? What?" This is him always. So, man, it's just a pleasure to talk, pleasure to do business with you and to work with you. And if you guys have any estate planning, estate administration questions, this is your guy, and we're here to help always. And that's really what these podcasts are about. We want to get to know you guys. We want you to get to know us. So when you come in, it's not like coming and talking to a stranger, especially about some of these really personal things.
Yeah.
And we want you to know we care about you and we appreciate you. So like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook, and keep up with what we're doing. And we really appreciate you guys. So thanks for watching.
yeah, thank you.